Restaurant Unstoppable. Inspire, empower, and transform the industry.
More and more people are working remotely and they're going to smaller markets to stretch their dollar, and they have disposable income now. So like there's so much opportunity all over the place. Maybe we can come back to that. Sure. But reflecting before we really get into you opening Josephine, what were some of the biggest lessons you learned leading up to this point in your experience? What set you up for success?
I think probably one of the biggest things was kind of staying the path and being continually focused on fundamentals. I think it's too easy to get through the fundamental section and then sort of forget about it, and you want to move on. I mean, when I was coming up, El Bulli was the thing. Everybody wanted to make spherified olives, and okay, yeah, that's fine, but continually refining, working on the basics and making sure that you're not skipping steps as you're laying the basic foundation. And you know, what are those foundational things? I mean, for me, it was, you know, the cleaning of a stock, or even still making stocks from scratch. The proper chopping of vegetables, all the things that just seem boring to, and I'm not an old guy, but I'm sure that they seem boring to a kid at this point, but you've got to really dive into those things. Another really big thing that set me up for success was early on, my first 2 chef jobs, I had a very small to no staff. So I was responsible for, in any kitchen, the chef is responsible for everything. I was literally responsible for everything. I would have people who would come in and maybe help me plate on the weekends. The first restaurant that I worked in, we were so short-staffed that my parents would come in and help wash dishes on the weekends. So you really get an idea of there's nobody coming to help you.
Yeah.
And that's a great mentality to have, even if you have a staff of 14.
Why is that such a great mentality? Why is that so important?
Because you just know it's always going to end up on your shoulders. The more you progress through the ranks, if you start learning that way, then it's not a culture shock. It's just like, God, yeah, that's fine. It's just, I've got 17 things to do and service starts at 5. Well, you better get them done.
What's that term when you clinch? Is it clinching metal? The galvanizing. It galvanizes you.
Yeah.
It makes you hard. It makes you, if you go through it, if you experience, it's like you need that experience of what struggle is to know how good you have it. Also, when you get back to that place, you're like, I've been here before. You don't lose your shit when it happens again.
No. I mean, if you've ever watched one of the things that we have a video list that is on YouTube, and all the cooks, I invite them to this YouTube list, and it's just videos that I've found. Laying in bed at night, I'll go through, and the strange thing is, a lot of them aren't cooking videos. There are a lot of great restaurant videos you can, but there are a couple of them where it's just Yo-Yo Ma playing the cello, and I'll reference him during service. Can you look like that? Can you be that effortless at what he's doing? And if you can't, then that's where we're going.
So what's going through my mind as I'm hearing you saying this is you're laying the foundation, you're building the muscle memory, you're taking all the things that would take up bandwidth, and you're eliminating that because you're just so used to going through the motion, so your mind can be where it needs to be, which is running the kitchen, which is leading the team.
Right.
So on that note about leadership, and I think that's like this, the whole point of this podcast is to not talk about the food, because you're opening a restaurant. I hope you know how to cook, right? So what is all the other stuff that you learned? Give us examples of the standard of the level of which you need to know those things, so we can kind of paint that picture of what sets you up for success.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things for me, in terms of mentorship, and my mentors coming up, my parents are brilliant people. And so that, if somebody said to me, tell me who your culinary mentors were, it'd be my parents. They cook at home. They're not professional chefs. But living with them, living with 2 people who are brilliant teachers, was one. You've got to be able to teach, especially now. So finding that, learning, coach a little league team, but that kind of stuff is going to help greatly. The leadership part of it, I mean, it's all going to be about people. It's dining room, it's food, it's all the energy that the people blow into the four walls of a restaurant. So
business
if
is
you
all
can't,
relationships.
if you can't teach them, if you can't inspire them, I mean, another big thing that was a huge help for me was playing high school sports, playing sports in general, being part of teams. All of those things, all those lessons were very, very important, continue to be important in our day-to-day here.
So,
and I find that the people who excel in the kitchens are the people who have those experiences in their past or continue to have them.
So let's get granular around the subject of teaching, your approach of being an educator, your approach of being a teacher. How do you view teaching?
Well, I mean, on the very basic level, you're trying to provide a new skill or a new outlook or perspective to people. A lot of times, I think too many times in the kitchen, it's viewed as a technique. I'm going to show you how to make a spherified olive. And that's a little bit part of it. I mean, I guess that's 2 + 2 = 4, but I'm more interested in, I don't want to, you can read a recipe and you can read a cookbook, but I want to teach you the best way to execute that in these 7 different types of environments that you're going to be presented with throughout your time as a line cook. So if I can teach you how to react to each one of those, and then how 2 + 2 = 4 is going to change to maybe 4.1 or 3.9 within those 7 different times, that's the teaching part of it. That's me actually showing you something that you can't get on your own. And that's why I hope people want to come and work at a restaurant like Josephine or Bastion, where they can get the individual perspective and experience that I've had outside of something that you could get for $3 in late fees at the local library.
Yeah, and I feel like what you're getting to is like the work of it, like the actual going through the motions, the skill set of being a chef, a cook, and those skills beyond reading the recipe.
Yeah.
But what about the skills when it comes to the human element of the emotional side of things, of tailoring your teaching to the individual? What advice do you have on us around that sort of thing?
Everybody's different. Every leader's different, but every person that's part of the team is different, and they're bringing a different set of things to the door every day.
So when you get a new person that comes in and you don't know anything about this person, are you just observing, like what's going on?
No, I'm 100% observing. I think a lot of times when we get a new person in, they maybe feel like I'm not interacting with them on a one-to-one level as much as maybe they would have expected, and that's by design. I'm looking for how are they interacting with everyone else, because I'm learning at that point. I'm learning about who they are without even asking them any questions. Prior to that, though, in the interview process, one of the things that I ask is, sometimes I think that interviews are too one-sided. So, if you were interviewing for a spot in the kitchen, I would ask, where do you want to be in, a year and 5 years, which is a pretty common question. That's not even restaurant specific. People ask that all the time. But then I would ask what you want out of me. How can I help you get to that spot? What are you looking for? Because everybody, you need money to live.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a given. You're going to get paid here. But what are you looking for from me when you leave here? And I expect that you'll leave. I want you to learn everything that you can here, and then I expect that you'll leave, and I hope that you'll come to me and say, I'm really interested in X. Can you help me get there? Because I will. I want you to go. But how can I help you between now and then get to that place? Some people just want to be a badass line cook. That's one type of teaching method that I can provide them. Some people want to be a great chef and chef only. That's another type of skill set that I can teach them, and another way of teaching them. And some people want to be a restaurateur. Well, another skill set. And so you've got to be able to live in all of those areas for all of those people. And, it's exhausting. There's no doubt about it.
So I think it's important what you mentioned is that you expect people to go on. I think that there's a culture sometimes within the industry with people that don't have the same experience or perspective as you, that they almost take it personally and they get angry at the level of transient behavior that exists in our industry. But why is your approach better? Expecting it to happen.
I don't know that my approach is better. It's just my approach. You should expect it to happen. I mean, there is my goal with everyone. My retirement plan is that everyone who came through this kitchen is going to be operating another kitchen, and I can go eat for free in their restaurant. That's how I'm going to get on when I retire. They need to be better than me when they leave. And if I've given them everything that I can give them, and from a work ethic standpoint and from a motivation standpoint, they have given back everything that they've got, then there's going to come a point in time where in order for them to be better than me, they've got to find something else.
Yeah.
Or else they're just going to be...
It's not about you in your restaurant. It's about everybody else. And and then when you have that perspective, and I love that you're being humble about it, and you're not saying I have the answers. This is my perspective too. And I welcome all perspectives, but from what I've gathered, when you make it about the person and you say, what do you want? Where do you want to go? How can I help you get there? When you take the approach where you're literally trying to push people out of your restaurant, but not like get the hell out, giving them like a kick in the ass, but like, how can I empower you to move on? Mm-hmm. What ends up happening is you end up retaining a lot more people because one, they're more grateful. I think, or the other thing is they're so appreciative of what you did for them. They're referring people to you, so in the long run, I think it works much better for everybody.